I notice, wherever I go in the world, actually, that upper middle class career women are very unhappy. They're very unhappy, okay, even though they've achieved a certain status. And what I'm saying is that feminists have to stop blaming men for their own unhappiness. The unhappiness is due, I believe, to huge systemic changes that women, for thousands of years, women had their own world. There was the world of women, and there was the world of men. And the sexes didn't have that much to do with each other, okay? This is a brand new experiment to have this new system where now women can be economically independent now. They're no longer dependent on father or husband or brother, okay, for their sustenance, right? And they're working side by side with men in the workplace, right? This is an experiment. It's never happened before, right? I'm saying in the book that we may have to accept a certain amount of tension between the sexes in the workplace, right? The feminist idea that if we can just suppress men enough, women will be happy. I say no, okay? I say, okay, and it's on the basis of my own experience as a child in Italian-American immigrant community, okay, is that what women have lost is the old solidarity that they once had when they totally ruled the private sphere. The women's life all day long was with other women once, multi-generational, older women, okay, as well as the children, right? It was a huge tribal experience. And now what women are feeling is a sense of isolation and loneliness, disconnection, okay, from their old function. I'm not saying to go back. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying stop blaming men, all right? Like, for example, these marches that just happened, okay? The women were exhilarated. They were almost hysterical, okay? I don't think it had anything to do with feminism or anti-Trump or anything like that. I thought it was that women suddenly felt that surge of happiness again for being with other women, okay? So even though people were laboring physically in the agrarian era, there was a happiness, okay? A sense of identity. There was no quest for identity. Now, it's no place for an independent thinker. Okay, if you were an independent thinker, you had no options as a woman except to become a nun. Okay, so I know I would have been a nun, okay, 100 years ago. All right, I know it, okay. And obviously, communities are intellectually repressive in their own way. Nevertheless, we're in a period now of quest for identity, tremendous pressures on young people to form their own identity separate from those old automatic tribal and community affiliations. So I think there's a tremendous, as a classroom teacher, of now, more than 40 years, I can see this, and it's really, there's a tremendous sense of psychological dislocation among young people, and they find many ways to try to achieve some sort of identity. And part of it right now, of course, is social media, which is causing the total, entropy in terms of ability to reason, to read, to write, the old things. So on. All right. Now, I'm also calling for an end to this insanity of excluding biology, okay, from gender studies. How in the world did this happen? All right. How did women's studies and gender studies end up teaching about gender without any reference whatever to biology or to hormones? Right. And right now, post-structuralism dominates gender studies everywhere. Now, I spent 6 months writing my dissection of Foucault, okay, what was that, 27 years ago. Now, assignment, hello, anyone who thinks that Foucault is somehow, the master of the universe has clearly not read my exposure of him in Junk Bonds and Corporate Raiders, all right? The man was a fraud. I'm sorry, okay? Compared to Freud, okay? Freud is out and Foucault is in. The post-structuralists, all right, pose as leftists, okay? But what were they doing in the past few decades with this crazy parasitic growth of this administrator master class, okay, that has taken over the universities, right, at a period of obscene, okay, rise in tuition costs, student debt that's crippling families and so on. Where were these leftists, the great leftists, okay, on our college campuses, okay? Were they resisting the administrators, okay? Were they denouncing student debts, okay? Were they lamenting lamenting, the plight of adjunct teachers and so on. No, they were all running to conferences, talking about Foucault with their stupid elitist jargon. Okay, you think they thought that's leftism? Okay, these post-structuralists are the worst mercenary careerists. Okay, in this country, right? The leading post-structuralists, okay, and new historicists are retiring as multi-millionaires. And they pose as leftists. Okay, it is a scandal. Forget Foucault, for heaven's sakes. It's absolutely absurd. Okay, so we have to bring biology and authentic study of medicine, of anthropology, of history, back into gender studies. That's one thing I'm definitely calling for.